Welcome to Tekedia Mini-MBA. I'm Ndubuisi Ekekwe. Our conversation today will focus on business leadership, looking at the essence of leadership in businesses. And for those who have that conversation, I take you back to week one of the mini-MBA. In week one of the mini-MBA, we look at the essence of firms. Why do we need companies? Why do we have this construct of group of people coming together to say they want to start companies? Because it is only when you have a company that is when we can begin that conversation on business leadership. So for you to talk about business leadership, you have to talk about the essence of firms. Because the essence of firms is to help to reduce the friction which exists between demand and supply. Because markets are inherently imperfect, and because markets are imperfect, you have to have a mechanism to reduce that level of imperfection. And when companies now come into that relationship, it begins to reduce those perturbations. So the most fascinating element here is that the friction that exists between demand and supply can only be reduced or lowered by market forces which are generated through the elements of which companies are participants. So when you have a great company creating a great product in the market, and then the demand buys that product, it means that you are fixing a specific friction in that particular demand. The demand are the customers. It means you are solving their problem. It means you are meeting their needs. It means you are meeting their expectation. It means you are meeting their perceptions of the things which they need in order for them to live their lives. It could also be companies. It could also be farms. It could also be government. But what we know that these are entities that are looking for something that will help them fix specific challenges they have. So this ecosystem works on these elemental constructs that the organizational firm must have the capacity to fix a need that exists in the market. And for you to have that organizational firm, you need to have the capacity to have leadership that can make that farm formation, that farm process, evidently effective and productive. So across basic elemental economics, we have seen that there are factors which are critical in that process of business system. You have the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Of course, in the digital space today, the land must have evolved into something different because you don't need a lot of land, unlike the old industrial economy where you needed to have acres of land for you to build industrial plants. When you have talk about labor, you need to have manpower. You need to have people that can actually help you execute the mission that you actually want to execute. Then you have capital, resources, you need money. You need to have the capacity to pay for things which are necessary in creating that product that will be necessary to fix that friction which exists in the marketplace. All these embodiments will now come into the domain of that entrepreneurship. That entrepreneurship is now looking at that engine, that brain power that makes it possible that these three elements can actually work in fusion. But in modern time, we have also added knowledge. And of course, you can say that that knowledge is a extrapolation of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is nothing but here leadership. Talking about ability to solve problem, ability to have a vision, ability to execute a vision, ability to anticipate changes in markets so that you can go forward and create leverageable momentum in that market space, fixing the efficiency that you think that can give you that great moment in the market. So leaders have knowledge. And then when they have that knowledge, they can recombine all these factors of production. And if you distill further, you can see that all these elements can be put together into people, into processes, and into tools. So the people are now the workers. The processes are now the systematic thing that enables the conversion of the raw material into a finished product. And understanding here that the raw material does not necessarily have to be a physical element. It could be different elements, and it could be different. So you need to have a process that enables you in that production system, that when you have put that input, you can get an output. Now, for you to have that process, there are now tools that help you to make that process of conversion from that input into the output. So the tools could be your computer system. The tools could be your warehouse. The tools could be anything that facilitates the process of the conversion of input into output. So, for instance, if you are in the business of agriculture and you need to transport food, basic produce before they are processed in your factory, you may need a temporary warehouse for storage very close to where the farmers have their farms. And then when you store them temporarily there because of transportation and logistical issues, you have to have a little bit of volume before you can bring the truck. So that warehouse is now a tool. That vehicle, that truck that is helping you to move these products from where they are to your factory where they are going to process, they are also classified as tools. And then the factory itself is also a tool. So the combination and the recombination of people, processes, and tools are things that leaders have to figure out how to do. If you make these relationships, these three relationships, to become evidently productive and effective, you begin to build a very solid company. And then we can see the elements of that by giving you competitive advantage in farms. You begin to have an advantage over other companies because you are having the capacity to combine the staff you have, the processes you have developed, and the tools that you have in that company in a better positioning process that you have an advantage in the marketplace. That advantage in the marketplace could be that your products are cheaper because your processes are more advanced and your tools are more efficient in getting things done, or your people are smarter and better workers than other competitors. So the competitive advantage could also be the time you deliver compared to what your competitors are doing. So there are so many elements of this competitive advantage. We have discussed them in week 2 when we say that innovators have to go into the market and create a new basis of competition. Because if you do not create a new basis of competition, it becomes very difficult for you to set a new driver that will change the trajectory or the rivalry within that economic system. That competitive advantage gives you the capacity to become the category king. The category king means you begin to dominate, you begin to change the ordinance that governs that particular category. Facebook is a category king in social media connection. Google is a category king in search. Microsoft is a category king when you look at platform for desktop computing. Apple is a category king when you look at the app world in in mobile devices system. So companies have built competitive advantage by changing the basis of competition. And when they do that, what typically happens is that growth comes. And when growth comes, they see that growth translating into huge profits. And when that happens, great things happens in their nations. Great things happens in their economies. Great things happen also in the company. The advancements of human race, the welfare of citizens have always correlated with the productivity of farms. If you go back more than 500 years ago, that plot we saw in week 1, you see that as technology, as improvement in processes, as advancement of tools, as all those elements were advancing, human welfare also advanced. Because innovation has one key element in humans. It makes processes better, improves the relationship between demand and supply, unlocking more value, accelerating the GDPs of nations. And when the GDPs of nations accelerate, the per capita income of the citizens go up. And when the per capita income of citizens go up, human welfare go up. That is the fundamental thing here. But for those things to happen, you need leaders in business. The leaders in business are those people that figure out how to use different leadership mechanisms, techniques, processes, models, frameworks to unlock value out of the processes, out of the tools, out of the people. And when they unlock those values, they now release great products and services in the marketplace, changing the ordinance, fixing the friction that those customers at the demand section, the market ecosystem facing. We are from Emmanuel. Thank you and have a profitable week ahead. Ndubuisi Ekekwe, Tekedia Mini-MBA.